Chapter 1. Death of the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. As she slumped in exhaustion, Tsunade for the first time in nearly a decade looked like her true self, that of an old woman far past her prime. She had spent the past few hours doing her best to save the blonde on the operating table from death. It had taken nearly all of her chakra and medical prowess to save him. As she finished healing him as best as she could, she exited the operation theater to see Kakashi and Jiraiya waiting outside. Tsunade immediately activated her genjutsu to hide her age and asked Kakashi, "What the hell happened, Kakashi?" Kakashi shook his head and said, "I don't know, Tsunade-sama. By the time I reached the Valley of the End, Naruto was in Orochimaru's grasp. He had applied the 5 elemental seal on Naruto, blocking the Kyuubi's chakra from aiding him, and then gave him the curse seal. Orochimaru then absconded with Sasuke, who from the looks of it had lost to Naruto prior to my arrival. I prioritized saving Naruto, who looked to be on death's door, over chasing after Orochimaru, which was a futile effort. What the hell happened to Naruto? I have never seen the kid take so long to heal from an injury," Jiraiya remarked while looking at Tsunade for an answer. Tsunade shook her head in dismay as she knew that Konoha would now look weak after the defection of the last loyal Uchiha. But she also could not blame Kakashi, as she knew that he was no match for Orochimaru in combat. Also, she knew that Naruto would have been dead if he had been brought to the hospital even half an hour later. Shaking herself out of her musings, she answered Jiraiya, saying Naruto died twice on the operating table. Jiraiya. He looked to have been put through the blender. He seems to have suffered 2 fatal wounds from what looks like the Chidori, one to his shoulder and another to his right lung. He also seems to have broken his neck, but it seems to have been healed by the Kyuubi. But the Chidori wound to the lung was not completely healed, as Orochimaru's 5-element seal stopped it, and then his cursed seal, which contained corrupted Senjutsu chakra, ripped apart Naruto's chakra coils before being burned out by the Kyuubi chakra in his coils. But all this stress resulted in his heart stopping to beat, Jiraiya, and the Kyuubi was released from the seal. This served as a shock and jolted Naruto's heart back to life. And the remaining Kyuubi chakra remnants in his body and the Senjutsu chakra managed to keep him alive till I healed him. Another 10 minutes, and he would be permanently dead. One of the reasons he is still alive is because of the incredible durability of the Uzumaki clan members. His chakra levels have plummeted from above Hokage to elite Jounin level, and he seems to be suffering from an abundance of Yang chakra, making him unable to use more than 2 shadow clones for now. And even that will be difficult till he brings a balance between his Yin and Yang chakra. The nature chakra remnants from the cursed seal in his body healed him with my help, but his body is basically now a clone of his original body, one generated by Senjutsu chakra and Bijou chakra. Also, the Kyuubi cannot be resealed inside him, as now his chakra system is fully grown. Jiraiya seemed to be shocked at this declaration, as he kept muttering the Kyuubi is gone, but the prophecy. Tsunade shook him out of his musings and asked, "Do you want to see him? It will take him another 2 weeks to fully heal up." Jiraiya shook his head and said, "No, Haim. I will come back later. I have something important to do now." Saying this, Jiraiya leapt out of the hospital window and vanished. Tsunade turned around to see that Kakashi also had vanished. Shizune, who was also assisting in Naruto's treatment, shook her head in disgust when she saw that not even a single person had come to see how Naruto was doing. Not even his teammate Sakura or anyone from his graduating class had come to inquire about his condition. She wondered how Naruto still felt any loyalty to these people, who didn't seem to give a damn about him. The only one who seemed to be worried about Naruto apart from herself and Tsunade seemed to be Gaara, who had remained in Konoha till he received news that Naruto was safe. It seemed that Naruto had made a good friend there. 3 weeks later, in the Hokage's office, Tsunade shook her head in disgust as she watched Naruto sparring with Iruka in the training field through the Sandame's crystal orb. Naruto was being tested to see if he was fit to remain a Genin after his injury during the Sasuke retrieval mission. Turning towards Shizune, who was grading Naruto's written test, and asked, "How did he do on the written test, Shizune?" Shizune shook her head saying, "It is all rubbish, Tsunade-sama. I can barely even make out what he has written. I can't understand how he even passed the academy in the first place." His taijutsu skill is also in the same situation. He seems to have no technique whatsoever. His punches and kicks are sloppy. His speed and strength are subpar. His stamina also seems subpar. He seems unable to even perform the basic Academy 3 jutsu properly. I can't understand how Sarutobi-sensei allowed him to become a genin. He seems to be absolutely hopeless at the shinobi arts, Tsunade remarked. Tsunade gestured to one of the ENBU in her office and said, "Call Naruto and Irika to my office." And the ENBU sped away to obey his orders. Tsunade spent the time it took for Naruto to reach his office, cursing her sensei and wondering what he was smoking when he allowed Naruto to become a genin. Tsunade was shook out of her musings when she saw Naruto entering her office. Tsunade hated what she was about to do, but she was determined to do it, as she was placing not only Naruto but also all the people in his team in the future in danger if she allowed an incompetent person to become a shinobi despite her affection for him. "Hey Bachan, why did you call me?" "I was showing my awesome taijutsu skills to Irika-sensei. I was just about to beat him too," Naruto boasted while puffing out his chest. Tsunade just shook her head at his empty boasting and shouted, "Naruto, shut up and listen. I saw your fight. You have no technique whatsoever. You are a plain brawler. Your punches and kicks are sloppy. Your speed and stamina are subpar. Your strength is okay, I guess. Your command over the 3 Academy Jutsu is basic knowledge as displayed in your written test is pathetic. Simply saying you are not qualified to be a genin. I am sorry, Naruto, but I will have to ask you to hand over your Hitayat. I am removing you from the shinobi forces, effective immediately." Naruto felt his entire body almost collapse in shock when he heard the Hokage's proclamation. He didn't know what to do. Being a shinobi is the only thing he knew. He couldn't even do any other job, as he knew that the civilian population either hated him or feared him. He didn't even have any source of income as he didn't have a family to support him, like his classmates. Naruto shouted back, "But Bachan, who needs all that boring information? I can fight well. You know that I defeated Neji, Gaara, and even injured Kabuto, right? I even defeated Sasuke before Orochimaru beat me and absconded with him. Please, Bachan, give me a chance. I will prove that I deserve to be a shinobi." To his shock, Tsunade just shook her head, saying, "Naruto, you won all those fights only because of the Kyuubi's chakra, which you no longer have. I can't place any shinobi in danger by making them work with your inadequate skills, risking them being killed in field due to your incompetence. But I will give you one chance. I will conduct another exam in 1 month. If you pass, I will make you a genin again. But if you fail, then I am afraid that will be the end of your shinobi career. Also, I will have to stop your access to the shinobi library, as you are no longer a shinobi. But you can take the academy texts to study. I am sorry, Naruto, but this for the best. Also, Naruto, I would like my necklace back. It is very valuable, and many shinobi may attack you for it, and you are in no condition to defend yourself." Tsunade felt ashamed at her actions as she saw the devastated expression on his face as he handed over his Hitayat and her grandfather's necklace to her. Tsunade addressed Naruto, last time before he left her office, saying, "Naruto, those boring books as you call them are very important. Every Hokage, including me, have a vast amount of knowledge on various shinobi and non-shinobi topics. The first Hokage was a taijutsu and kenjutsu master. He was a master of Mokuton, Suiton, and Doton ninjutsu. He was a master healer. He was a sage. He was known as the god of shinobi. The second Hokage was a kenjutsu and taijutsu master. He was a master of Suiton and Raiton ninjutsu. He invented the earlier version of Hiraishin, the space-time jutsu, which the Yondaime later modified, and which made him a terror on the battlefield. He invented the Shadow Clone Jutsu and the Edo Tensei. The Sandaime Hokage was a taijutsu and bojutsu master. He had mastered all the 5 nature releases. He knew how to use all the non-bloodline-related jutao of Konoha. He was known as the Professor and the second god of shinobi. He led Konoha to victory through 3 shinobi world wars. The Yondaime Hokage, your hero, was a master of taijutsu and shuriken jutsu. He was an unparalleled sealing master. He modified the Hiraishin and became the first person to be given the SS rank in the Bingo book, and also the first to be given a flea on sight order in the Bingo book. He single-handedly destroyed the IWA army with his Hiraishin and the Rasengan. These are the people you are trying to match, Naruto. If you truly want to become the Hokage, you will have to become like them. Become knowledgeable in a vast variety of topics. Become a monster of a shinobi, one whom enemies fear to even utter the name of. You will have to kill hundreds of enemy shinobi in the service of your village. I know that you have never taken a life despite being a shinobi for nearly a year. I read your mission reports about how you always try to go for non-lethal blows against enemies, trying to convince them to stop fighting. Your hesitancy to end the life of an enemy may result in death of a comrade in the future. That is not something your fellow shinobi will agree with. You have the chance to reinvent yourself as a shinobi and a person, Naruto. Don't waste this chance. Not many people get such a chance. You can't only do things you like and neglect other parts. That is not how a shinobi functions. Now, you are dismissed, Naruto. Use this month to prepare for the exam. Also, you will have a psychological evaluation to determine if you are fit to be a shinobi. I have made an appointment for you in 2 weeks. A few hours later, on top of the Hokage monument, Naruto sat on top of the Yandame's head as he pondered his situation and its hopelessness. He was shook out of his musings when he felt a soft hand on his shoulder. He turned his head to see Shizune looking at him with a concerned expression on her face. Naruto could no longer hide his frustration, disappointment, and sadness and hugged her tightly, bawling his eyes out. Shizune just held him tightly and rubbed soothingly on his back. What is the matter, Naruto-kun? I know that what Tsunade-sama did and said was harsh, but it was the best for everyone. She couldn't risk the life of other shinobi partnered with you if your skills are not up to scratch. But you have 1 month to bring your skills up to scratch. You should not waste this opportunity, and you must not waste your time moping. From what I hear, that is your teammate Sasuke's role. So, cheer up and go train, Shizune said, trying to encourage him. She couldn't bear to see the bright, always cheerful blonde she had come to see as her little brother in such a sorry state. Naruto hiccuped due to his tears and said, "Nei-chan, I don't know how to read properly. They never taught me in the orphanage. I taught myself how to read and write, as best as I could. The taijutsu technique that Bachan said was useless and incorrect was what the academy instructors taught me in the academy. Even the kawarimi and henge, I learn on my own by watching them perform it. The instructors used to send me out of the class during all the important classes, even though I hadn't done anything. That was when I started pranking people, thinking that if I was going to be punished anyway, then I would make sure that the punishment would be for something I had actually done, and this way I could get back at some of my tormentors." Shizune looked on in horror as Naruto told her the reason for his poor performance in the academy. She couldn't believe that the Sandaime allowed this to go on. "Why didn't you tell this to the Sandaime, Naruto?" "I complained to the Sandaime a few times, but he just said that I have to study harder and believed all the lies told by the academy instructors. Even Iruka-sensei, despite not treating me like a monster, never bothered to help me out in my studies. After leaving Bachan's office, I went to Kakashi to ask for his help in training myself, but he brushed me off as usual, saying that he could not train me as I was no longer a genin, as if he trained me when I was on his team. The only thing Kakashi ever taught me was the tree walking exercise. Whereas Kakashi taught Sasuke how to use the Chidori and mini Keton Jutsu, whereas leaving me and Sakura to our own devices, telling us to focus on the basics while he exclusively trained Sasuke. Even Jiraiya abandoned me, saying that he had to attend to his spy network and that I no longer had to fear any danger from the Akatsuki as I no longer held the Kyuubi, proving that the only thing he cared about me was harnessing the Kyuubi's power. Even when I held the Kyuubi, the only thing he taught me was the Rasengan, even that he only showed me each step once and left me to work it out on my own, without giving any clues on how to do it. To learn how to use the summoning contract of the toads, he pushed me down a ravine to force me to use the Kyuubi's chakra. All the other Jounin sensei, including Guy, declined to help me, saying that they had their own genin to train. My so-called friends said that they had their own training to attend to, so they couldn't help me. My teammate Sakura didn't even ask how I was, after staying for 2 weeks in the hospital from injuries. All she cared was that I couldn't bring back Sasuke. I don't know what else to do, Nei-chan. Even Tsunade Bachan refused to help me, saying that it would be favoritism. Shizune hugged Naruto and slowly soothed him. while in her mind, she was cursing everyone as couldn't believe the atrocious behavior exhibited by Kakashi, Jiraiya, and the other Jounin sensei, and Jinin. Shizune made up her mind, and with a firm nod to herself, she said, Naruto, from tomorrow onwards, I will train you for the next month. Come meet me in Training Ground 43 tomorrow morning at 5. I will make sure that you are more than ready to become a genin by the month's end, but I want your word that you will do your best to follow all my instructions. Naruto exclaimed happily and said, You have my promise, Nachan. I will do my best. Thank you for agreeing to help me. Love you, Nachan. Naruto scampered off after hugging Shizune tightly one more time. Seeing the wide, happy smile on Naruto's face at her offer of help, Shizune couldn't contain her own wide smile and said out aloud, I will not let you down like all the others, Otudo. I will do my best to help you become the best shinobi you can. You did a very good thing, Shizune. I would have trained him myself, but the council will whine and complain about favoritism. If he passes the test, I will train him myself and take him as my apprentice. Take care of him, Shizune, said Tsunade, who had happened upon the talk between Naruto and Shizune. She was disgusted by the actions of Kakashi, Jiraiya, and the instructors at the academy. She was also feeling ashamed at the inaction of her sensei in regards to Naruto and decided to train Naruto herself if he passed the test. Shizune turned around to address her master, whom she had already sensed, and said, I will train him and will make sure to get him up to scratch, my lady. Naruto's apartment. Naruto entered his apartment and saw the mess inside his apartment. He knew that he could no longer continue as he was. He also realized that he couldn't afford to rely on any of his classmates for help in the future. Both his sensei, Kakashi and Jiraiya had abandoned him in his time of need. He could only rely on himself and Shizune Nichan's help to pass the test. Naruto vowed to himself that he would prove to everyone who thought that he was nothing without the help of the Kyuubi, that even without the Kyuubi, he could become great. He would prove to Bachan that the confidence that she placed in him when she gave him her necklace was not misplaced. He would be known as Naruto Uzumaki and not as just the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. But first he would have to change everything about himself if he wanted to gain the power to achieve his dream of becoming Hokage and keep his promise to Sakura-chan to bring back Sasuke. Naruto quickly went about cleaning his apartment and threw out the trash. He found his old academy textbooks underneath a cupboard and dusted them and placed them on his dining table. He quickly took a bath and spent 2 hours struggling through a text on geography of the elemental nations. It was while reading through his textbook that he realized that some pages were missing. He immediately knew that it was the work of the academy instructors who didn't want the Kyuubi Jinchuriki to become a shinobi and therefore sabotaged his education by giving him damaged textbooks and taught him wrong taijutsu techniques and sent him out of the class when important topics were discussed in class. He was not even in a position to borrow the textbook from anyone as he had no one who would have helped him during his academy years, and the academy instructors knew this and took advantage of it, as even the Sandaime Hokage always took their word over his. Naruto decided to ask Shizune Nichan for complete textbooks of the academy the next day morning and went to bed after brushing his teeth, as he needed to be at Training Ground 43 the next day morning. Chapter 2. A Sister's Help. The next day morning. As the entire population of Konoha except the ANBU patrolling the village was in a deep sleep, a sudden blaring sound of an alarm rang out, and a 13-year-old boy in a run-down apartment shut it down and got up grumbling to himself. Naruto got up at the first ring of the alarm itself, as he wanted to be on time and not disappoint Shizune Nichan. Naruto went about completing his morning routine, got dressed in his signature orange jumpsuit, and quickly rushed to the training ground Nichan mentioned after locking his apartment behind him. Naruto reached Training Ground 43, which was located just beside the Forest of Death, and saw that the training ground looked to be in a dilapidated condition. It didn't look like anyone regularly used this training ground. As Naruto had arrived early and there was still time for his Nichan to arrive, Naruto decided not to waste time and immediately took to running rounds around the training ground at his full speed for as long as he had read that this would help in increasing both his speed as well as stamina. It was nearly half an hour into his training that Shizune arrived and was happy to see that Naruto had arrived early and was not wasting time and instead had started training. Naruto, good job. Now come here and take rest for a few minutes. Then I want you to spar with me, so that I can get an idea on what and how to train you, Shizune said, interrupting Naruto's run around the ground. Naruto gladly sank into a relaxed posture on the ground and greedily gulped in the oxygen. He was starting to feel a burning sensation in his leg and thigh muscles. He couldn't believe how easily he had tired without the chakra of the Kyuubi, which used to be sealed inside him, and whose chakra used to provide him with a lot of stamina and used to heal him quickly. After 5 minutes, enough rest, Naruto. Now come at me with the intent to kill, Shizune said. What followed was a brutal beatdown of Naruto, as Shizune countered his every move with ease, and every mistake he made resulted in a painful bruise on his body. All the while she ran a commentary on every mistake he made and how to avoid them. Naruto never imagined that his kind Nachon could be so ruthless. Naruto also realized how over-reliant he had become on the shadow clone jutsu. His fighting style consisted of basically spamming shadow clones and rushing the enemy, and even that was not enough against skilled enemies, as the shadow clones were basically copies of the original and dispelled after one solid hit. But now that he couldn't use the shadow clones, except maybe one, he found that he didn't have much else in his arsenal. Even the Rasengan couldn't be used, as Naruto had not learned how to use it without the help of shadow clones. After 5 minutes, Naruto finally collapsed on the ground, unable to continue any longer. Seeing Naruto's condition, Shizune also stopped. Naruto was shocked to see that while he had all but collapsed, Shizune had not even broken a sweat from their earlier spar, and he finally understood the massive difference in skill between him and his Nachon, who was a Jounin. He didn't even want to imagine the difference in skill level and power between himself and Tsunade Bachan. He was sure that she would pulverize him within the first few seconds of the spar with a single punch. As Naruto regained his breath, Shizune went over everything she had observed in their spar and wrote down a schedule for Naruto to follow for the next month. She gave it to him and said, "This will be your schedule for the next month. I expect you to strictly follow it." Naruto looked at the paper, and his schedule read as follows. 4:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., physical conditioning and taijutsu practice. 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., chakra control practice and meditation. 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., ninjutsu practice and jinjutsu detection and dispelling. 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., taijutsu practice and weapons throwing practice. 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., miscellaneous practice. And Naruto, in addition to this, you will make a shadow clone every day morning in your apartment. It will keep studying a list of books I will give you that I want you to know by heart by the end of the month. The first few days, a shadow clone of mine will help your clone in reading, and once I am satisfied with your reading ability, your clone will keep on reading by itself. You will dispel it only while you are going to bed. Naruto shook his head in confusion and asked, Nachon, but what is the use of my clone learning to read and write properly and reading all those books? I will not learn anything that way, will I? Shizune just smiled and said, Naruto-kun, once a shadow clone dispels, the original gets back the memories of the clone, including the unused chakra from the clone. So it is great to train things such as chakra control, reading, writing, taijutsu katas, etc., but physical conditioning will have to be done by original body. But it is best to use a maximum of 10 shadow clones at once, as the more clones you create, the stupider they become, as your chakra becomes equally divided between them, and those clones use chakra as their brains, as they don't have actual brains, and the less chakra in them, the more stupid they become. So for intellectual purposes, it is best to use no more than 10 shadow clones at once. For combat purposes, that is not a problem. Naruto then asked, but what is the use of meditation, Nachon? Naruto-kun, you have an issue with the balance of your chakra. You have an excess of yang chakra, which makes you hyperactive and unable to sit still for a long time, which in turn affects your attention span and concentration. Meditation helps in increasing your yin chakra reserves and also helps in teaching you patience, which is essential for a ninja. It also helps you focus on a topic and increases your attention span. So, it is very important. Increased yin chakra reserves helps you in casting jinjutsu, which is a very important branch of the shinobi arts. Naruto nodded his head and said, I promise you that I will follow this schedule properly. Tabeo. Naruto, create a shadow clone and send it to your apartment. My shadow clone will be waiting for it with a few books I sent it to collect for you. Meanwhile, I will be training you in taijutsu. Naruto nodded his head and making a cross sign with his fingers, created a shadow clone and sent it to his apartment with instructions to strictly follow Shizune Nichan's orders. Naruto suddenly remembered something and said, Nichan, yesterday night I was reading an academy book on the geography of the elemental nations, and a lot of pages were missing from the book that the academy instructors gave me. The same is the case with the other textbooks also. Shizune controlled her anger at the academy instructors with a lot of effort, as she badly wanted to introduce them to what a pissed-off medical ninja can do. She couldn't believe the gall of those people to sabotage the education of an innocent child. Barely managing to control herself, Shizune instead just smiled at Naruto and said, Don't worry, Naruto. I will get you a new copy of the academy textbooks to read. Now I will show you the most important part of taijutsu you will ever learn. Naruto couldn't contain his excitement on hearing this and nearly shouted, What is it, Nichan? What super cool technique are you going to teach me? I will learn it quickly and use it to defeat Sasuke and bring him back, Tabeo. Is it the gates thing Lee uses? Naruto kept on rambling, only to be cut off as Shizune simply replied, Nothing of the sort. I will be teaching you how to punch and kick properly. That makes up more than 50% of taijutsu, how and when to punch and kick. The way you are currently throwing your punches and kicks is absolutely horrendous. You are wasting a lot of energy, and your blows are not packing much of a punch. Naruto's sweat dropped as he heard what he was going to learn, but decided to suck it up and do as he was told. Naruto watched as Shizune Nichan showed him how to properly execute different types of basic punches and kicks with minimum effort exerted and achieving maximum impact on the target. He silently cursed the academy instructors and decided to follow his Nichan's movements as perfectly as possible. Shizune watched from the sidelines as Naruto repeated all the movements she had shown him and corrected his movements when required. When she was sure that he had all the movements down pat, she called for his attention and said, Naruto, now I will show you the correct way to throw shuriken and kunai, and then I will have to leave to start my work, so watch closely. She then demonstrated the correct way to throw kunai and shuriken and then corrected his movements. You have got the throwing motion down correct, but your accuracy is atrocious. But now that your throwing technique is correct, the accuracy will increase with practice. You continue to practice in the time allocated to shuriken jutsu in your schedule. I want you to bring your accuracy to 100% by the month's end when targeting moving targets and not just stationary targets. But for now, practice on the stationary targets in the training ground. As it was time for her to get to work, Shizune took out a sealing scroll from the inner pocket of her jacket and unsealed a set of training weights from it. She gave them to Naruto and said, Naruto, these are a set of arm and leg weights for you to use. They range from 5 kilograms to 100 kilograms on each arm and leg. I want you to do your physical conditioning and taijutsu practice and everything wearing these weights. Only remove them while you are in the bathroom or while you are sleeping. I want you to progress to at least 60 kilograms by the month's end. While you no longer have the QB sealed inside you to heal you rapidly, your healing factor is still very high, and your muscles will heal quite quickly from the muscle tears due to the strain and making your muscles more strong, and your speed and strength will increase rapidly. Naruto immediately put on the arm and leg weights of 5 kilograms each on his arms and legs, and immediately felt the strain on his arms and legs. As Naruto got used to the weights, Shizune said, Naruto, I want you to do 50 rounds of the training ground and 100 push-ups, squats, pull-ups, and jumping jacks. I also want you to do 50 rounds of Surya Namaskar, as yoga will make sure that your body remains flexible. After that, take a break for 15 minutes, and then I want you to practice all the punches and kicks I showed you on the wooden training posts, with 100 repetitions of each. I want those movements to be engraved into your muscle memory and become instinctive. I will come back in 2 hours to check on your progress, and I will bring you breakfast. I don't want to see you slacking off, is that clear? Or else I will decide on a suitable punishment for you. Shizune warned Naruto. releasing a bit of her killing intent to make sure that he got it into his head that she meant business. Naruto rapidly nodded his head and immediately set to work on his physical conditioning and started running around the ground at the max speed that he could with the new weights on his body, which was not more than that of a light sprint. Seeing this, Shizune called out, "Naruto, the trick making your body get used to the weights is that you pump chakra to your legs to increase your speed, and when you are comfortably moving at your full speed, decrease the amount of chakra that you are channeling till you are able to move at your full speed even with the weights on and with no chakra enhancement. Constantly channeling your chakra like that will increase your chakra reserves as well as your chakra control." Saying this, Shizune vanished in a standard leaf shunshin. Naruto saw this and continued on his run around the ground, as he followed his Nichin's advice and pumped chakra to his limbs and immediately felt a little ease in running and even felt a little increase in his speed. Determined to complete the task Shizune Nachan set him, Naruto determinedly continued on his task. 2 hours later, training ground 43. Shizune returned after 2 hours, after completing her morning rounds in the hospital, and to her delight, found Naruto panting and sweating heavily. But still continuing to do his taijutsu practice, he was doing continuous repetitions of the different punches and kicks she had shown him. Shizune kept watching Naruto's practice, and after nearly 15 minutes, he finally collapsed on the ground and pumped his fist with difficulty, shouting out hoarsely, "I did it, Tabeo?" Shizune chuckled slowly, and Naruto suddenly turned around to see that Shizune Nachan had arrived. "Did you see, Nachan? I did as you told me to. I did it, Tabeo." "Done, Naruto. Now come here and let me look at your knuckles. They seem to have been split open from punching the wooden post repeatedly and are bleeding badly." Shizune took both his hands into her hands and healed the split open and bleeding knuckles. She also used the Shosen Jutsu to relieve some of his muscle fatigue. Shizune then handed him one of the 2 breakfast boxes she had brought with her. It consisted of meatballs. "On Nachan, why didn't you bring ramen?" Naruto whined. "From today onwards, you will strictly follow a diet plan I will prepare for you. You need plenty of protein for your body, to sustain it during your strenuous training, and also for muscle development and height growth. Eating too much ramen is bad for your health. And I also want you to change your attire. Bright orange is not a suitable color for shinobi to wear," Shizune sternly said. Naruto looked down at his feet embarrassedly and quietly mumbled, "But no other restaurant, other than Ichiraku's, will allow me to eat there, and the grocery shops always overcharge me. Those instant ramen cups are all I can afford on a genin's salary, as I also have to pay my apartment rent as well as the water and electricity bill. Almost all the stores in Konoha overcharge me or sell me spoiled goods, Nachan. And this orange jumpsuit is the only shinobi outfit that one of the shopkeepers agreed to sell to me, and even this is overcharged that I even complained to Hokage Gigi, but he didn't do anything. I don't know what else to do." Naruto sniffled softly in sadness. Shizune looked ready to murder someone. She heard slight whimpering and looked to see Naruto slightly shaking in fear from the killing intent she had been unintentionally releasing. Getting her killing intent back under control, she slowly approached Naruto and hugged him and said, Sweetheart, I am not angry at you. Now, you don't have to worry about that. I will get you a set of kunai and shuriken from Higarashi's shinobi store. You can go there for any future purchase of shinobi items. It is run by a former jounin, so he won't discriminate against you. As for new clothes, we will buy them at the end of the month, as you may have a growth spurt due to all the training you are going to do. For the next month, you are going to be having your meals with me, and I will also teach you basic cooking." Naruto cried in happiness and hugged her tightly. No one had ever taken such care of him. Even the old man Hokage never took care of him like this. He just used to visit him once a month and treat him to ramen. Naruto and Shizune then got down to having their breakfast, and later Shizune showed Naruto how to do the leaf sticking exercise. "Naruto, the first chakra control exercise I want you to do is the leaf sticking exercise. You stick a leaf to your forehead using your chakra and keep it like that as long as you can, till such a time as you can do that without conscious thought. For the next 3 hours I want you to do that, and if you think you have mastered it, try sticking multiple leaves to various parts of your body. But after 3 hours, I want you to practice meditation for an hour," and then showed him the correct posture to do meditation and showed him how to concentrate on his breath while he meditates, in order to not let his attention wander while he meditates. Shizune then left to go to her office in the Hokage Tower, and Naruto carefully placed a leaf on his forehead and channeled chakra to his forehead. The leaf blew away the first 10 times, but slowly Naruto managed to channel exactly the amount of chakra required to stick the leaf to his forehead. And when the leaf was finally stuck to his forehead, Naruto started reading a book on anatomy that Shizune had given him. It gave detailed explanations about the various parts of the human body along with pictures about the placement of the various parts of the body. It also talked about the most vulnerable parts of the body and which wounds were fatal. It also talked about 8 most vulnerable parts of the body, where a blow from the enemy would be fatal. They were the brain, larynx, heart, lungs, spine, liver, kidneys, and spleen. At first, it took a lot of effort for Naruto to be able to keep the leaf stuck to his forehead, while he simultaneously, and it took him nearly an hour to get the hang of it. By the time the 3 hours allotted to his chakra control training came to an end, he didn't even have to pay any attention to the leaf on his forehead in order to make sure it remained stuck. Naruto had even added another leaf to his forehead, but he had not yet mastered that part yet. As Naruto looked at the clock Shizune had given him, he closed the book and sat down in the Seiza posture with his legs crossed over and his hands placed on his thighs, with palms facing skywards. At first, Naruto couldn't even sit still for more than 5 minutes straight before he started fidgeting. He started to question the usefulness of this and was about to get up and work some more on his taijutsu when he remembered his promise to Shizune and sat down immediately. He suddenly remembered how Nachan told him to focus on his breathing. It took a few more tries, but Naruto finally managed to calm his restless energy and sit still in silence as he was completely focused on his breathing and was lost to the outside world. It was to this scene that Shizune walked into the training ground as she brought lunch for both herself and Naruto. She was surprised at how still and calmly Naruto was sitting and meditating. For someone who was so hyperactive, he sure got to hang out meditation quite fast. Naruto finally opened his eyes after what felt like many hours and felt himself completely relaxed. He saw Shizune looking at him proudly, as she said, "You seem to have gotten down the principle behind meditation quite well. Keep it up." Naruto blushed at her praise as he was not used to anyone ever praising him. As Naruto told Shizune about his chakra control practice, she was pleased with his efforts in chakra control as well as multitasking, as knowing about the human anatomy was very important for a shinobi. She instructed him to focus on hitting all the 8 vital points on a training dummy during his shuriken jutsu practice. After lunch, Shizune said, "Naruto-kun, for the first 2 weeks, we will focus more on your academy ninjutsu. We practice jinjutsu detection and dispelling after you have a decent grasp on your chakra. I first want you to perfect the 3 academy jutsu, especially the kawarimi, as it is a very important jutsu and will most probably save your life many times, if mastered. Then we will focus on the hinge. Finally, we will focus on the basic illusionary clone jutsu, after you have gotten tree walking down pat." Shizune then created a shadow clone and said, "My clone will assess your ninjutsu, as I have to get back to the hospital." Saying this, Shizune vanished in a shunshin. The shadow clone told Naruto to perform all the basic academy jutsu. As he was doing as told, she observed that Naruto was forming the hand signs very slowly, and so of the hand signs he was using were not exactly correctly. Deciding to first make him use the correct hand signs and increase the speed of his hand signs before making him increase his proficiency in the use of the 3 basic academy jutsu. She made him go through all the basic 12 hand signs and corrected him when he went wrong. She used rubber bands to increase the dexterity of his fingers by using them while Naruto makes the hand signs, thereby increasing the difficulty in making the hand signs, and making the fingers more flexible, strong, dexterous, and nimble due to the tensile strength of the rubber band acting against the movement of the fingers. She had Naruto practice this for the next 2 hours. Then it was time for shuriken jutsu practice, where he threw kunai and shuriken at the practice targets which were in the shape of a person and had the 8 vital spots marked in red paint. And Naruto tried to hit a vital spot with each throw. Naruto practiced throwing with both his hands on Shizune's suggestion, as one hand may be injured and he should not be hampered by his injury. After doing Shuriken Jutsu practice for 2 hours, Naruto repeated the physical conditioning and taijutsu practice he had done in the morning. Then, it was time for dinner with Shizune-chan at her house. He had never been to her house before. She lived in a simple house in the Senju compound. Naruto was overwhelmed when Shizune-chan asked him to come to her house for dinner. No one had ever invited Naruto to their house for dinner before, not even the old man Hokage. After dinner, Naruto tightly hugged his Ne-chan and said, "Thank you for helping me and for taking care of me so much, Ne-chan." And then, Naruto departed to his house and found his shadow clone studying a book on basic mathematics. Naruto set his clone to work on the leaf-sticking exercise, while he practiced increasing his hand seal, making speed. After another 2 hours, Naruto brushed his teeth and dispelled his clone and nearly collapsed due to the memory download from his clone. Naruto quickly fell asleep after he assimilated all that the clone had learnt from morning onwards. He learnt that Shizune-chan had helped him in reading through the big words that he couldn't understand in the books. She had also given him a dictionary and a thesaurus to look up the words he couldn't understand when she was not present while he was reading. His clone had spent most of the day learning basic mathematics from Shizune-chan. His clone had also read a book detailing the poisonous plants found in Fire Country and their antidotes, and another book about the edible plants found in the Fire Nation. The first was useful in making antidotes and poisons. The second book was useful in camping while on missions. After assimilating all the memories, Naruto quickly fell asleep after removing his weights. He set his alarm clock for 4 a.m. in the morning. Chapter 3. Training for the Genin Exam Part 1. The next morning found Naruto back in Training Ground 43 at 4:30 a.m. in the morning, doing his exercises and yoga with his weights on. And as his body had gotten a little more comfortable with the weights, he had increased the repetitions of each exercise and even added some exercises like crunches, bicycle crunches, and skipping. He did a 100 repetitions of each exercise and 300 for skipping, as skipping helped him become light on his feet and also in becoming more nimble. He increased his rounds around the ground to 70 from the 50 he ran the previous day. As Naruto finished his physical conditioning, he immediately did the stretching exercises Shizune-chan had taught him yesterday, in order to make sure that his muscles didn't cramp after intense exercise. After cooling down from his exercise routine, Naruto immediately got down to practicing his punches and kicks on a wooden post, and he even incorporated blows using his elbows and knees against the training post. Naruto also increased the number of repetitions of each type of blow from 100 to 150. It was almost 7:30 a.m. by the time this was finished, and Shizune-chan arrived and healed his bleeding knuckles, elbows, and knees. Shizune healed his injuries and said, "Naruto, remind me to teach you to bandage your fists during your taijutsu practice. That will prevent your knuckles from bleeding quite that badly. Now it is time for your evasion practice. For the next 1 hour, you will try to dodge all my blows," she said, and immediately started attacking him with her taijutsu at Chunin speed and not at her full speed, so as to not overwhelm him. As Naruto struggled to dodge her blows, she said, "Naruto, try to dodge my blows with minimal body movements. That way you can minimize your energy expenditure. Your natural strength is very good, so I want your taijutsu to based around dodging and redirecting your enemy's blows, while you counterattack with deadly lethal blows. Your every movement should be clinical with little no energy wastage. Also, the first rule taijutsu is to never be predictable, especially against dojutsu users. So, I won't be teaching you a set taijutsu style. I will be teaching you various taijutsu moves, but it will depend on you to incorporate it into your fighting depending on the situation, as your opponent can't predict your moves if you yourself don't know what move you will be using till the last moment. I want your taijutsu to be instinctive and not be rigid bases on a set of katas. I want you to focus on targeting the pressure points and vital spots on your opponent's body while fighting. This is basically the essence of the type of taijutsu fighter I want you to become. And I know that you will become a frontline fighter, so I want you to conserve as much energy as possible during all your movements, as you no longer have the QB to boost your chakra reserves and replenish them quickly. Use the various moves I teach you to come up various taijutsu combinations on your own. Naruto listened carefully to what his Nechan was saying and agreed. As in the fight against Sasuke, he noticed that Sasuke seemed to be reading his movements like an open book. The only times he landed a blow on Sasuke was when Naruto was faster than Sasuke's reaction speed. So, he knew that his taijutsu needed to be unpredictable and his speed much faster than Sasuke if he was to have any hope of defeating Sasuke and bringing him back to the village. But despite his best efforts, Naruto couldn't dodge more than 25% of Shizune's blows aimed at him and was badly bruised by the end of the hour. He couldn't even follow most of her blows initially. But his eyes eventually adjusted to the high speed she was moving at, and he managed to dodge a few of her blows at the end. He could have dodged so more of her blows, but she told him to dodge only using the least movement of his body possible, like swaying slightly out of the line of a blow, just sidestepping a blow, etc. Naruto was extremely disappointed by his poor performance, but Shizune didn't share his disappointment and instead said, "Naruto, you don't have anything to be disappointed about. I was moving at mid-chunin speeds, but you still dodged nearly a quarter of my blows. That is very good for your first day. But by the time the 1 month is over, I want you to be able to dodge at least a quarter of my blows as I move at high chunin speed, while you are wearing at least 50 kilograms of weight on all your limbs." Then they had breakfast, and as Shizune Nechan left, Naruto started his chakra control training. He kept 3 leaves stuck to his forehead as he went through his taijutsu practice, as he decided to focus on his taijutsu practice instead of reading a book like yesterday. He created a shadow clone whose sole task was throwing blunt kunai at him at his maximum speed, and he tried to dodge them while still keeping the leaves stuck to his forehead. It proved to be extremely difficult and required splitting his concentration to be split in many directions at once. But he eventually got the hang of it by the end of another 2 hours. And by the time it was time for his meditation, he had another 2 leaves stuck to his body, one on each arm after he ripped apart the sleeves of his jumpsuit. For the next 1 hour, Naruto meditated, all the while keeping the 5 leaves stuck to his body without any conscious effort on his part. The meditation restored his chakra levels. It also removed the mental fatigue caused by concentrating on various things at once, something which he was not used to. By then it was time for lunch, and Shizune Nechan had arrived and first checked on the progress of his chakra control training. Shizune was very impressed with the progress of Naruto's chakra control training, and especially the way Naruto modified it to make it more difficult, as well increased the time Naruto was now spending on his taijutsu, without neglecting his chakra control training at the same time. It seemed that the removal of the kyubi had improved his grasp on his chakra. "This is good, Naruto. I want you to go up to having 10 leaves stuck to various parts of your body at the same time, while you are practicing taijutsu. Then I will start you on a modified version of the leaf sticking exercise. Now enough about training. Let's have lunch. Then I want you to work on the dexterity of your fingers for half an hour and the rest of the time allotted for your ninjutsu practice to perfect your kawarimi. I want you to work on increasing the speed at which you perform the kawarimi. I want you to make it nearly instantaneous by the month's end while using only a single hand seal. And I don't want to see a puff of smoke when you perform the kawarimi. By the month's end, it should be instantaneous, with no smoke to indicate the use of a kawarimi. If you can do that by the month's end, I will teach you the shunshin." Naruto leapt up at that and declared, "Just you watch, Nechan. I will get it done in 15 days, Tabeo." Shizune laughed at his enthusiasm and said, "You managed to do that, and I will teach you another extra jutsu in addition to the shunshin." Naruto immediately got up after having lunch and got to work on the dexterity of his fingers. He was not going to miss out the chance to learn super cool jutsu, Tabeo. Naruto found that it was taking a lot of effort to make any improvement in his kawarimi jutsu. So Naruto came up with a crazy idea and created a shadow clone and ordered it to throw blunted kunai at him at increasing speeds, and he would dodge only using kawarimi. This way he could learn to chain together multiple kawarimi and also use it to move all over the battlefield. Shizune Nechan had said that the best way to perfect the technique was to use it in combat. So, that is what he would do, and he would master the kawarimi Tabeo. Naruto still stuck 6 leaves on various parts of his body while doing this new exercise. Naruto had removed his shirt to prevent the leaves from getting stuck to his shirt instead of to his body. It took Naruto nearly an hour just to perform a single kawarimi, while still keeping the leaves stuck to his body, let alone chaining together multiple kawarimi, or let alone dodging projectiles using only kawarimi, while still keeping the leaves stuck to him. By the time another hour's passed, Naruto managed to chain together continuous substitutions, with the leaves attached to his body. While Naruto's shadow clone worked on chaining together multiple substitutions as he could, there were still many problems with his kawarimi. It still generated a considerable amount of smoke, which was basically excess chakra wasted in the jutsu. But that would improve as Naruto's chakra control improves. But Naruto was happy that he had managed to chain together 10 to 15 substitutions in a row before it took a toll on him. But he was still being disoriented due to the continuous substitutions, but the only solution for that was continuous practice. For the next 2 hours, Naruto resumed his physical training routine as well as taijutsu practice and evasion practice, all the while keeping 10 leaves attached to his body. He had finally managed to have 10 leaves attached to various parts of his body at once. Naruto also spent 2 hours practicing his shuriken jutsu. He managed to hit the bullseye or the vital spot he was aiming at on the targets 70% of the time, which was a major improvement, as earlier he couldn't even hit it half of the time. As Naruto wrapped up his shuriken jutsu practice, he heard clapping and turned around to see Shizune was standing behind him with a smile on his face and was clapping. "Very good, Naruto. You have improved massively in 2 days. Keep this up, and I will make sure that you are at least low Chunin level by the time your Genin exam comes around," Shizune said with clear pride in her voice at Naruto's improvement and single-minded determination. Naruto blushed and scratched the back of his head and said, "When did you get here, Nechan?" "I have been standing here for the last 10 minutes, Naruto. We will have to work on your situational awareness and try to make you develop some form of sensory skill, as you can't let enemies sneak up on you like this. The concept is similar to meditation, so we will incorporate it into your schedule and practice it along with your meditation. But for now it is time for dinner. Let's go to my house." After dinner, as Naruto was about to return to his apartment, he remembered something and asked Shizune, "Nechan, using weights for my arms is becoming cumbersome. Is there no other way to use it?" Shizune thought for a few minutes and said, "Wait here for a few minutes, Naruto. I should have a pair of chakra weights in my house. You can place them on your legs. They are much easier to use and remove than the regular weights. But I will control them till you at least have mastered water walking. We don't want you to accidentally crush your muscles by increasing the weights more than necessary by accidentally channeling more chakra than required. Once you have mastered tree walking, I will hand over the control of the chakra weights to you. For now, I have adjusted them to 10 kilograms for each leg as you have said that now you can move at your top speed, even while wearing the weights for 5 kilograms, without any issues. As for your arms, it is not advisable to wear weights for them, but I have some chakra-enhanced dumbbells with me. Use them and some exercises I will be teaching you to increase your upper body and arm strength, especially your biceps, triceps, shoulders, and abdomen region. I want you to work on some core strengthening exercises from tomorrow, as they will help you in keeping your balance. Also, I want you to spend 1 hour a day practicing the taijutsu moves I have taught you, while standing on top of the narrow poles and training ground will drastically increase your sense of balance and make you more agile. Also, I want you to swim for at least an hour every day in the small river that flows outside of training ground 40 against the flow of the water, as this will work on developing another group of muscles." Naruto blushed embarrassedly and ducked his head down and said, "Nechan, I don't know how to swim. The academy instructors never taught us, saying that the students should learn it from their parents." Shizune shook her head in dismay and muttered some very uncomplimentary words about the academy instructors, but eventually controlled herself and said, "Don't worry, Naruto. I will teach you tomorrow morning. Remember to bring a pair of swimming shorts with you when you come to the training ground tomorrow. Now off you go." Naruto returned to training ground 43 and climbed up the long poles. Each pole had only enough space for one person to stand comfortably on top of it. Naruto spent the first hour performing 50 repetitions of various punches and kicks, and he spent the next hour jumping from one pole to another, or just slightly swaying out of the way of blunted kunai thrown at him by his clone. During this, Naruto fell many times from the poles, but managed to land lightly on his feet after performing flips in the was especially difficult with his increased weights on his legs. Finally, Naruto was tired and he returned to his apartment and brushed his teeth, showered and dispelled his shadow clone in the apartment, and spent 15 minutes assimilating its memories. It had spent most of the day learning basic mathematics and science. It had also spent many hours improving his handwriting, after Shizune-chan had strictly told him to work on his handwriting, as she told him that perfect handwriting and calligraphy was a prerequisite for learning Fuinjutsu, something Naruto had found a great interest in after learning about the great Fuinjutsu masters belonging to the Uzumaki clan, who were so feared that 3 great shinobi nations banded together to destroy Yuzu. He had read about it in an old history book Shizune-chan had given him about the history of all shinobi nations, both big and small. Naruto had cried for nearly an hour straight when he had read about how his clan had been massacred, but had been proud to read that almost the entire invading force had been slaughtered by the Uzumaki clan in retaliation. He had promised himself to work even harder and become a Fuinjutsu master in order to make his ancestors proud. He particularly wanted to learn how to use the famous Hiraishin of the Yondaime Hokage, and that required Naruto to be a Fuinjutsu master. Finally, Naruto came out of his recollections as he was too tired and couldn't keep his eyes open any longer and promptly dozed off after setting his alarm clock for 4 o'clock in the morning. Naruto finally finished assimilating the memories of his clone and found that he was able to easily understand the maths and science problems, with Shizune-chan's clone patiently explaining the concepts to him and clarifying his doubts, instead of brushing him off like the academy instructors. The next day's training went according to schedule, but Naruto made some changes. He had a shadow clone of his practicing the next stage of chakra control, which was moving the 10 leaves along his body in the direction of his chakra flow. For this, Naruto had his shadow clone meditate to discover the direction of flow of his chakra, which turned out to be anti-clockwise. He then had his clone combine meditation with his new chakra control exercise. This improved his chakra control, as well as made him very familiar with the nature of his own chakra, as Naruto had his clone immerse his consciousness with his chakra and simply flow throughout his body along with his chakra, not doing anything, simply moving along and getting familiar with the feel of his chakra. It felt rich and dense. One shadow clone of his cousin continued to do this throughout the day, while another shadow clone of his went through hand seal speed practice. Naruto solely worked on the physical aspects of his training like physical conditioning, taijutsu practice, and also kawarimi practice as, even though shadow clones could practice the kawarimi, as they were chakra constructs, they would soon dispel as soon as the shadow clone ran out of chakra, so it was not much use in practicing chaining together multiple kawarimi, as it would soon run out of chakra. On the other hand, a shadow clone could do basic chakra control exercises for almost half a day before dispelling, which then Naruto replaced with a new one. Naruto could now create 2 shadow clones at once, and he recovered his chakra within half an hour, which he then used to create another 2 shadow clones. But he remembered Shizune-chan's warning to not use more than 10 shadow clones at once to work on different topics, so he allotted 2 shadow clones to work on his academics, 5 shadow clones to work on his chakra control, and 1 shadow clone worked on helping him with his evasion exercises both only physically and also during the time when he only used kawarimi to escape the projectiles thrown at him by his clone. As Naruto spent most of his time on his taijutsu, shuriken jutsu, and physical conditioning, he found that he improved by leaps and bounds by the end of the first week in those areas. He had increased his leg weights to 30 kilograms each. He could now hit the bull's eye or any other spot he was targeting on a stationary target with pinpoint accuracy while he was standing or even while he was moving. Next came working on his aim on moving targets. He had incorporated a lot more exercises into his physical conditioning, as now he had a lot more time to spend on it, as he delegated most of his chakra training to his shadow clones. He also started intense cardio and core strengthening exercises, as well as an intense upper body strengthening exercise regimen. He also increased the repetitions of all his exercises. Naruto had also learnt swimming from Shizune-chan. She had taught him, first in the mixed gender bathhouse, and then had him practice in the small, fast-flowing stream outside of Training Ground 40. She had him swim against the flow, as it strengthened the muscles of his shoulders, chest, abdomen, and thighs. When Naruto had first seen his Nachon in a bikini, Naruto had sported an erection, and Shizune had seen it and teased him about having a crush on his Nachon. That had led to one of the most embarrassing experiences of his life. Flashback. As Naruto and Shizune arrived at the mixed-gender bathhouse in the vast Senju compound, they both got into their swimming was wearing gray skin-tight swimming shorts, while Shizune was in a bright red two-piece bikini. As they were about to enter the pool, Shizune saw that Naruto seemed to be uncomfortable and was frequently adjusting his ground area. She looked more closely and spotted him sporting what appeared to be a raging boner. Shizune quietly chuckled, but then got an idea to tease Naruto. She quickly restrained his hands above his head and looked down at his exposed groin and said in a mock stern voice, "Well, Naruto-kun, it seems like someone has gotten excited at seeing his Nachon in a bikini. What do you have to say for yourself?" Naruto just looked at her with a confused expression on his face and said in an innocent voice, "Shizune Nachon, I didn't know what is happening. Since I saw you in your swimsuit, my penis has become very hard and it is becoming very uncomfortable." Shizune's playful expression turned into a serious one as she asked, "Naruto, do you know how babies are made?" Naruto shook his head and said, "No, Nachon. The academy instructors sent me out of the class when that was being taught in the academy. I didn't even do anything to deserve that punishment." Shizune shook her head in dismay and asked, "Naruto, do you even know the difference in the body parts of females and males?" Naruto again shook his head in negative. Shizune asked, "Then how do you transform into a naked female using your sexy jutsu?" Naruto shook his head in the negative and said, "Nachon, the female I transform into is not naked. There is cloud covering her chest and groin. And I copied the image from a book I once saw Hokage Gigi reading. The woman in the picture also had clouds covering her chest and groin area." Shizune sighed and said, "No matter. I will teach you, Naruto. Listen carefully, Naruto. This is very important." The next hour was the most embarrassing of Naruto's life as Shizune gave him an in-depth education on the human reproductive system and also the various sexual organs of males and females. She educated him about the effects of puberty on adolescent males and females. She also gave him a basic education on sex. That was easily the most embarrassing experience of his life. Naruto had even tried to run away, but she had immobilized him as a precaution in case he tried to run away. He couldn't her in the eye for the entire week after the incident without blushing brightly in embarrassment. After this incident, Shizune had started taking a shadow clone of Naruto with her to the hospital and made him watch as she performed autopsies in the morgue and gave him an in-depth education on the functioning of the human body. When the first time Naruto had gotten those memories, Naruto had vomited everything he had eaten before as he got the memories of the various cut body parts and blood, but he slowly got used to it. Shizune Nachon also taught his clone how various parts of the body worked, and the clone took copious amount of notes on everything Shizune Nachon taught him. Shizune Nachon also taught him basic first aid and also a jutsu on how to regulate his body temperature. It was also useful for improving chakra control. She also taught him the rope escape jutsu and the transparent escape jutsu. Naruto found them simple enough and had two clones practice them till he was able to do them without hand seals. It took Naruto's clones 3 days to perfect them. Chapter 4. Training for the Genin Exam Part 2. Hokage's Office. Tsunade was deep in contemplation as she finished her paperwork for the day, but her mind was far from the work she was doing. She was thinking about Naruto's progress from just 1 week of serious training under Shizune. She had been rather skeptical about Naruto's chances at passing the test, but it seems that the only thing he required to flourish was a dedicated and patient teacher, and Shizune was exactly that. Shizune was also a perfectionist, and she made sure that Naruto mastered every skill he had, and not just half-assing things. She had assumed that Naruto was kinesthetic learner, but her assumption turned out to be wrong. The only reason Naruto seemed to be dumb was because the academy instructors had sabotaged his education. He didn't even know how to read and write properly, and even what he knew was self-taught, which was a big achievement in itself. It was a wonder that Naruto had survived so long with such blatant sabotage of his shinobi training. She had no idea what her sensei was thinking when he allowed people to get away with so much against Naruto. He was the Hokage, damn it. If he had taken strict action against the first saboteur itself, then no one else would have dared to repeat such actions. She was loath to admit it. But the truth of the matter was that Sarutobi Sensei's inaction had basically encouraged the blatant bias against Naruto. And even then, the bias against Naruto was not example. Rock Lee had graduated even though he had no capability to perform any ninjutsu, but had been passed citing a recommendation from Guy and the Irinen that he couldn't perform ninjutsu or jinjutsu due to a problem with his chakra system. She had read the reports of Naruto's first 2 failures in the Genin exams. He had passed everything, and only failed in making the basic clone jutsu, which was damn impressive for someone who taught himself everything and whose education was sabotaged as much as possible, teaching him wrong Taijutsuan Shuriken Jutsu technique, sending him outside of classes for no fault of his, giving him damaged and sabotaged textbooks, you name it, and it had been done to Naruto. And even then it was not possible for an Uzumaki Jinchuriki to perform a basic illusionary clone, as that took too little chakra for him to perform without extensive chakra control training from a very young age, which he didn't have. Sarutobi Sensei should have passed Naruto on his first try itself and given him as an apprentice to Anko. With his amazing skills in stealth and massive chakra reserves, Anko would have turned him into a peerless assassin as well as an equally good frontline fighter. This again pointed to bias against Naruto, as a person who couldn't use any chakra externally as passed, while Naruto had to learn in a ranked kenjutsu to pass the Genin exam. Tsunade could not place the complete blame on Sarutobi Sensei though. She knew that he was too tired to be an effective Hokage in his second term, what with having to handle the unruly civilian council, the Uchiha massacre, the Kumo incident, dealing with the massive drop in the number of ninja available after the Kyuubi rampage, keeping Naruto out of Danzo's hands, etc., and she felt guilty that he didn't have both Tsunade herself or Jiraiya to help ease his burden. She knew that if it was in his first term as Hokage, all the academy instructors who sabotaged Naruto would have been publicly executed by her sensei, as an example. She was shook out of her musings when she saw the person she had been waiting for finally arrived. "Good evening, Hokage-sama," came the voice of Inoichi Yamanaka, the Yamanaka clan head and head of the torture and interrogation department. "Good evening, Inoichi. Now tell me, how did Naruto's psychological evaluation go?" The Sandaime really dropped the ball with how he allowed Naruto to be treated, Hokage-sama, Inoichi replied. "The boy has severe mental trauma. When I tried to enter his mind, I felt a resistance. That only happens if you have mental shields, which he doesn't have, or if has a dual personality. To deal with the isolation imposed on him and the hatred exhibited towards him by the population, he has tucked away all his negative emotions, as a child can't be expected to deal with such complex emotions. That seemed to have resulted in the creation of an alter ego in his mind, a Yami Naruto, in simple words. He represents all the negative emotions Naruto just suppresses, instead of dealing with them like in mentally healthy individuals. Tsunade-sama, Naruto also seems to be suffering from passive suicidal ideation." At Tsunade's horrified expression, Inoichi hurried to explain, "He won't actively try to take his life, but in a mission situation, he will throw himself into any life-threatening situation if needed without any worry about his own life." Tsunade's mind went back to some of her earliest memories after meeting the blonde, when he took a blow to his chest for her, a complete stranger to him. Tsunade shook herself out of her musings and asked, "How did this happen, Inoichi?" "He basically has no self-worth, Hokage-sama. Due to being repeatedly told that he was useless or having his existence be spat upon by almost everyone, even his teammates, this is a natural reaction to it. As for his passive suicidal tendencies, he seems to have idealized the versions of martyred shinobi, who were respected by everyone. In the old tales the Sandaime used to tell him about great shinobi. He seems to think that if he died for the village, at least then the villagers will acknowledge his existence and respect him." Tsunade looked on in horror as Inoichi continued in a disgusted voice, "Sandaime-sama may have protected Naruto from any physical abuse, as he publicly burned alive the first person who tried it. But then the villagers did something worse to him. They started treating him like he was invisible. Humans are social beings, Hokage-sama. Such social isolation was too much for the young child. and also as the cause of his attention-seeking behavior and pranking. He seemed to have come to the conclusion that any attention is better than being ignored. We as a village failed him terribly, Tsunade-sama. If his parents were to see how our treatment affected Naruto, we would not be able to dug the graves fast enough, Inoichi said. Tsunade shuddered in terror as she suddenly saw a vision of a chakra chain-wielding woman and a teleporting man were massacring Konoha citizens. Tsunade snapped out of her shock and asked, "Wait, you know who his parents are?" Inoichi shook his head and said with an amused smile on his face, "Tsunade-sama, he is a clone of his father in looks, and his exuberant personality mirrors that of his mother. I would be a piss-poor ninja if I couldn't figure it out. I am sure that most of the ANBU forces know the truth about his identity. Though from the looks of it, much of our shinobi forces and civilians consist of blind fools. How they don't recognize him for his true identity is beyond me. They look at his father's face every day, and Naruto is practically his father's clone in terms of looks." Tsunade snorted in dismay and said, "People don't see what they don't want to see, Inoichi. If they accept that Naruto is the son of their beloved Yondaime and the red-hot habanero, that means that the fools will have to accept that for all these years taking out their frustrations on an innocent child. It will take time for the people to get past their own prejudice. But if Naruto progresses like he is in his training, from what I have read in Shizune's reports, it won't be long before his notoriety increases and his identity will be revealed. So, what do you suggest we do to treat Naruto's psychological problems?" Tsunade asked. "I think regular sessions with me will help him in coming to terms with his unresolved psychological trauma. As he slowly accepts his dark feelings and learns to live with them, his Yami personality will start to dissipate. As for his suicidal tendency, you will have to make sure that he knows that there are people who care about him and love him, like you and Shizune. That will slowly improve his self-worth and make sure that you regularly remind him that there are people willing to help him and not simply use him like his former teammates and sensei. From what I heard about his former team, Kakashi used Naruto to motivate Sasuke and make Sasuke feel better about himself, and Sakura did the same. She used to constantly pit down Naruto to make her feel better about herself. And how the Sandaime allowed Sasuke Uchiha to become a shinobi is beyond me. That boy was a high-level flight risk. He would abandon the village at the slightest hint that someone else would give him more power. I even told this to the Sandaime, but he bowed down to the pressure of the civilian council and the elders. Team 7 was a disaster waiting to happen. And Tsunade-sama, you will have to break Naruto out of his unhealthy obsession with bringing back Sasuke, even at the cost of his own life. From his memory I saw of the fight against Sasuke, Naruto could have killed Sasuke if he didn't pull back his Rasengan at the last moment. That is how he suffered from the Chidori wound to his right lung. And another thing, Tsunade-sama, if Naruto gets over his psychological trauma, he may no longer want to be Hokage, as it was just another manifestation of his need for attention. Tsunade just smiled and said, "I don't give a damn if he doesn't want to be Hokage. His health is of more priority to me." Inoichi nodded his head and said, "As it should be. I have scheduled regular therapy sessions for Naruto with me, every 3 days. I also want to give Naruto an IQ test. I expect him to be much smarter than is expected, as now he has someone teaching him sincerely." Tsunade just nodded her assent and dismissed Inoichi. She then decided on joining Naruto and Shizune for dinner every day from now on, as that would help in furthering her interaction with her favorite blonde and also assure him that there are people who care about his well-being. With that thought, she closed up her work for the day and headed to Training Ground 43 to supervise Naruto's training for the 1 hour he had remaining in his training schedule before it was time for his dinner. Training Ground 43. Tsunade reached the training ground and saw Naruto practicing various taijutsu combinations while standing on top of long poles, while dodging shuriken thrown at him by a shadow clone. This took her back to her days of training under Sarutobi-sensei on her taijutsu, when she had trouble with her balance. She had then used this particular exercise while training Shizune, who seems to have in turn implemented it in Naruto's training. She saw that Naruto was struggling a bit with his balance on a particularly difficult move and called out, "Naruto, try to execute the move while bending your body a little more. Make your center of gravity as low as possible. That will help with your balance." Naruto seemed to hear her advice and managed to execute the move perfectly after a few tries. She then had him standing on one leg on top of the pole and had him dodge shuriken, only resorting to swaying out of its path and not moving an inch from his position. It seemed a little extreme, but she had seen Orochimaru practice this while he was on her team, and it had done his evasion. And body balance, a world of good. It would also make Naruto's body a lot more flexible, as while she wanted to teach Naruto her super strength style of taijutsu, she knew that when it came to evasive maneuvers, snake-style taijutsu trumped hers, fair and square. She made a note to ask Anko to train Naruto in evasion, as she was a practitioner of snake-style taijutsu. Naruto wound down his taijutsu practice with a round of cool-down stretches and went to the Senju compound along with Tsunade. They decided to walk back, as they were in no hurry. "Thanks for the help, Bachan," Naruto said with a beaming smile. Tsunade whacked his head hard and shouted in mock fury, "Shut it, brat. I told you to not call me that, brat. I am not old. Next time you call me that, you will be having a taijutsu session with me," she said with an evil glint in her eye. Naruto shuddered, as he remembered her monstrous strength as she kicked around Orochimaru. He had no desire to experience her super strength firsthand. Thank you very much. He had been working with Inoichi on what he called were Naruto's suicidal tendencies. He had never realized before how little value he placed on his life. But he didn't agree with Inoichi's suggestion to give up on Sasuke. Sasuke was his friend and teammate. And those who abandoned their teammates were trash. Sasuke had attacked him with the Chidori. Only because the curse mark given by Orochimaru was affecting his mind, he was sure of that. He was brought out of his musings when he felt Tsunade ruffle his hair in amusement as she saw his reaction to her threat. "Good boy, call me Oba-chan in private if you want, but in official capacity, call me Hokage-sama, Naruto. It looks professional." Naruto nodded his head, as that was a reasonable solution, but he still intended to call her Bachan when he could get away with it. As they reached the Senju compound and had dinner with Shizune, Tsunade inquired about the progress of his training, and she was immensely pleased with his progress. She was now confident that Naruto would comfortably pass the test. Tsunade then taught Naruto the next chakra control exercise after dinner. It consisted of making leaves rotate upon his fingertips with chakra, first all in the same direction, and then rotating the leaves on alternate fingers in opposite directions. She wanted him to master both of the chakra control exercises in the next 3 days. And it was possible if he dedicated 2 more clones to chakra control training. As Naruto was about to leave the Senju compound, he suddenly remembered something and addressed Tsunade, saying, "Oba-chan, can I still do some D-rank missions? It is getting hard to live on my own and manage to pay all the bills with no missions to perform to earn money." Tsunade cursed herself silently, as she had not realized that Naruto had no one to support him. She thought about agreeing to his request, but she knew that it would create ruckus from the council about favoritism. She suddenly thought about an idea and said, "Naruto, I can't allow you to take missions till you become a genin again. But I have a solution. From tomorrow onwards, you are moving into the Senju compound. There is lots of space here, and Mr. and Shizune would love to have you here." Naruto was disappointed at not being allowed to do even D-rank missions and was thinking about ways to earn some money when he heard what she said about living in the Senju compound and looked at her dumbfounded and asked, "Are you sure, Oba-chan? The villagers will be angry." Tsunade snorted in amusement and said, "You don't worry about the villagers, Naruto. I will take care of it. I am the Hokage, not them. I rule the village. Who I allow to live in my compound is up to me," she said firmly. Naruto beamed in joy and thanked her profusely and sent 2 shadow clones to pack up his belongings and shift them to the room in her house that Tsunade told him to use as his own. The room was as big as his entire apartment. It had an attached bathroom. Naruto went to the training ground to continue his training as his clones unpacked and arranged his belongings, the few that he had, in his new home. After Naruto returned to the compound, he found Tsunade waiting for him, and she added his chakra signature to the security seals around the Senju compound, so as to allow him entry whenever he wanted. After that, she bid him good night and went to her room to sleep. But before she left, she told him that she had arranged for someone to meet him at Training Ground 43 the next day, and that person would help him with his taijutsu training. Naruto was excited about it and could barely sleep that night. Chapter 5 Training for the Genin Exam Part 5. Next morning, Training Ground 43. Naruto was going through his usual taijutsu practice when he suddenly swayed to the side, as his instincts screamed at him to dodge. He saw that he had barely dodged a kunai thrown at him, which had lodged itself in a tree after missing its target. He heard a clapping sound and turned around to see the crazy snake lady, who was the proctor for the second round of the Chunin exams. It seems that she was the one who fired the kunai at him. He was about to shout at her for what looked like an attempted murder attempt, when he was suddenly dumbstruck by the words coming out of her mouth. Not bad, Gaki. You still keep an eye on your surroundings even while doing your practice. That is much better than most genin, in my opinion. It seems that this will not be a waste of my time, after all. Get ready, Gaki. I'm Mitarashi Anko. I'm going to beat your ass in taijutsu from today onwards. I am on my downtime after an S-rank mission, and for the next 3 weeks I have been asked by Tsunade-sama to train you in taijutsu. Now let the training begin. Run, Gaki, run. She cackled as she made him dodge a continuous assault of kunai and shuriken, using only his speed and dodging skills, all the while trying to land a blow on her. The next hour passed excruciatingly slowly, as Naruto was cut, bruised, and bit by snakes as Anko chased him all around the training ground. Naruto finally collapsed in exhaustion after an hour, as he failed to land even a single blow on her. He was exhausted, but Anko didn't look like she had even broken a sweat, which further depressed Naruto. Naruto was greatly discouraged by his performance. But Anko said, "Very good, Gaki. Your basic stances and evasion skills are solid for a new genin. But there is a lot of room for improvement, and we will work on your taijutsu and evasion skills every day. The physical conditioning and other aspects of your training, you can work on your own. Now, get back to your training, Gaki. Create clones for your chakra control training. You will spend most of your time with me, working on your physical skills." Naruto created 2 shadow clones with a single hand sign and sent them off to practice the leaf spinning exercise, as he followed Anko into the forest of death, and she continued beating him into the ground, all the while correcting his stance and giving him tips on maintaining his balancing and delivering maximum force in his nearly another hour. It was time for breakfast, and Naruto returned to Training Ground 43, and Anko returned to her house after telling him to meet her again in 2 hours. In the Forest of Death. After Naruto's chakra recovered after taking a break for breakfast, he created 2 more shadow clones and set them to practicing the tree climbing exercise. This way he could practice 2 chakra control exercises at the same time. Naruto didn't expect the tree climbing exercise to take much time to master, as he had already learned it once, and this time, he didn't have the QB chakra constantly disrupt his chakra flow. He instructed his clones to first start slowly walking up the tree and measure how much chakra it took to stick to the tree, and then slowly increase his speed in trying to walk up the tree. Naruto returned to the Forest of Death and saw that Anko had not yet arrived, so he created another shadow clone and had it working on his hand seal speed, and he settled down to meditate, which was quickly becoming something that he greatly enjoyed, despite his initial reluctance. As he immersed himself in his meditation and was following the chakra flow in his body, he suddenly felt something like a bright spark approaching him at high speed, and Naruto suddenly got out of his meditative pose and threw a kunai in the direction that he felt the spark coming from. Anko was definitely not expecting to be greeted with a kunai to her face when she shunshined to the Forest of Death, and definitely didn't expect the kunai to be launched by the Gaki. She caught the kunai easily enough, as despite the surprise, she was a special jounin, who was equal to most of the jounin in the village. The only deterrent to her promotion was her association with her traitorous sensei, Orochimaru, and that resulted in the elders and Danzo always opposing her promotion. She shook her head and brought herself out of her thoughts and turned towards the Gaki and asked, "Why the hell did you attack me, Gaki? And also, how the hell did you know where I was shunshining?" Naruto scratched the back of his head in embarrassment on attacking his new teacher and said in a sheepish voice, "Ano, sorry for attacking you, sensei. I was meditating according to Shizune Nichin's instructions when I felt a bright spark heading towards me at full speed, and I reacted on instinct. Sorry, sensei, please forgive me, Tabeo." Anko shook her head in amusement and said, No need to worry, Gaki. It seems like you are a sensor. This is something that the academy instructors should have observed and trained you in, but I heard from Tsunade-sama about how they screwed you over. But don't worry, you can learn how to improve and train your sensory skills with Shizune. She is an incredible sensor. Now, for the next 2 hours, we are going to play tag in the Forest of Death, and you will only try to escape from me using the Kawarimi. And also you will not get down from the trees during this time period. We will only train atop the treetops. This will also make you familiar with fighting atop trees. Anko flicked a kunai into her palm and lazily licked it, and looking at a terrified Naruto, and said, "Now, run Gaki, otherwise I will taste your blood," and immediately flicked a couple of kunai at him. Naruto immediately disappeared from his position and appeared atop a tree, after using a kawarimi, and saw that the log he had substituted with had 5 kunai sticking out of it. Breathing a sigh of relief, Naruto immediately appeared atop an adjacent tree as he dodged another kunai, which was tossed at his previous position, and saw that it had impaled the tree he was previously standing on, at the exact position that his head was present a few seconds before. This pattern continued for an hour, as Anko forced him to kawarimi all over the place while dodging her projectiles at ever-increasing speed. After a while, she even started predicting where he would appear and threw kunai at those positions also, forcing him to play mind games with her regarding where he would appear next. This exercise led to Naruto being full of kunai wounds when he was not fast enough with his kawarimi or was predictable in where he would appear next. This torturous exercise had the benefit of making Naruto proficient enough in the use of the kawarimi that he had entirely eliminated the smoke generated when he used the kawarimi. He had also reduced the hand seals required for him to successfully execute the kawarimi. He could now successfully execute the kawarimi jutsu with a single hand seal. Naruto collapsed on the ground after spending nearly all his chakra with the continuous use of the kawarimi for an hour straight. Despite all his exhaustion, Naruto was very pleased with his progress. He was confident that by the time another week passed, he would be able to perform a sealless kawarimi. That would allow him to learn the Shunshin and one other jutsu from Shizune-chan. The rest of the day progressed in the same fashion, with Naruto getting his but handed to him by Anko, while his clones took care of his ninjutsu, shuriken jutsu, and chakra control training. By the end of the day, Naruto had 7 clones working on his chakra control exercise of leaf spinning. His 2 clones had mastered tree walking, and his clone had even managed to stand on the tree's trunk and continuously dodge kunai thrown at it for an hour. Naruto even had 2 shadow clones of his spar while using tree walking for an hour, and by the end of the day Naruto could use tree walking subconsciously, without paying any attention to it. He now planned to master tree walking using his hands. By the end of the day, Naruto was beyond exhausted but was fully satisfied with his progress. Having a sparring partner had resulted in an impressive increase in the rate of his progress. Naruto was now sure that he would pass the Genin exam easily. He had already mastered the hinge. He had already tried it, and he was as proficient in it as ever. He even found it much easier to use than before. As for the basic illusionary clone, Naruto had to at least have Chunin-level chakra control before even attempting it. His shuriken jutsu had progressed to the point that Naruto could hit any spot he aimed for on a stationary target, with 100% accuracy. He was now moving on to moving targets. His chakra weights had been increased to 50 kilograms on each leg by Shizune-chan. His hand seal speed had increased drastically. He had almost completed the academy curriculum. Tsunade-bachan had deemed his calligraphy to be more than sufficient to start learning Fuinjutsu. Yes, having a clone practice his calligraphy for nearly 16 hours a day for 8 days had improved his calligraphy drastically. Even he, himself, was astonished at seeing his improved calligraphy. It no longer looked like chicken scratch, and it now looked like someone had printed it and not handwritten. As Naruto contemplated his progress while lying on the ground after completely exhausting himself, his thoughts were disturbed by Anko, who also looked to be tired. "Well, Gaki, time for you to go home. Meet me tomorrow in the Forest of Death after completing your physical conditioning. We will continue the same type of training as we did today. And don't you forget to ask Shizune to train you in your sensory ability. It will be a very useful tool in your arsenal, so don't neglect its development. Train in your sensory ability with Shizune after having dinner." Saying this, Anko disappeared in a leaf shunshin. With immense difficulty, Naruto picked up his bruised and battered body off the ground and proceeded to training ground 43 and saw his shadow clones still continuing with the tasks he had set them. Naruto carefully sat in a full-size posture and called out, "Guys, dispel one at a time, so that I can easily absorb your memories without a headache." And at once the memories of all the training done by his clones hit him, one after another, and Naruto took 15 minutes to fully absorb and analyze the memories he had received. Naruto was happy to learn that his clones had made sufficient progress in mastering the tree-walking exercise with his added twist of using hands instead of his legs to climb the tree. He had also made sufficient progress with the leaf-spinning exercise. He could spin 5 leaves, one on the tip of each finger of one hand. Tomorrow he would proceed to the next step of doing it on both hands at once. Overall, he was very satisfied with the progress in his chakra control training. Satisfied with his progress, Naruto slowly walked back to his new home and immediately went into the shower and stood beneath the hot shower for nearly half an hour, allowing the hot water to soothe his muscles and relieve the tension accumulated in his muscles. Sighing in relief, when he finally felt some relief, Naruto washed all the dirt and grime from his body and stepped out of the bathroom after wiping off the water from his body. Putting on a new jumpsuit, Naruto went to the dining hall and saw that Bachan and Nachan were already waiting for him. Greeting them with a smile, Naruto immediately began to wolf down his dinner at record speed, as all the training with Anko had left him knackered. Naruto let out a yelp when he felt a wooden spoon smack into the back of his head. Looking up from his food, he saw Shizune Nachan with a wooden spoon in her hand, looking at him with a severe expression. "What did I tell you about eating like a ravenous animal, Naruto-kun?" asked Shizune in a severe tone. "Sorry, Nachan. I am just very hungry. Anko-sensei tired me out completely. I don't think I have ever been this tired because of training," Naruto said in a sheepish tone, as Shizune had been beating manners into his thick skull, saying that every person should have minimum manners, especially someone aspiring to be Hokage. Nodding her head in agreement, Shizune said, "Be as it may, Naruto. That is no reason to revert back to bad habits. Now eat properly, and then tell me how your training went." As this was going on, Tsunade was silently snickering as she saw Shizune repeatedly smacking Naruto with a wooden spoon as she made him eat with proper manners. She never did imagine that Shizune had in it her to be so strict. Shizune was proving that there was a reason that she was jounin. Tsunade decided to break up the banter between Shizune and Naruto, so she said, "Okay, enough. Now, Naruto, tell me how your training with Anko went." Naruto narrated the events of his day's training to Tsunade, when he suddenly remembered something and turned towards Shizune, saying, "Shizune Nachan, today while I was practicing meditation, I suddenly sensed Anko arriving via Shunshin. It seems like I am a sensor. Anko-sensei told me to ask you to train me in sensing chakra. She said that you are a sensor, too." Tsunade was not much surprised by this news, as she knew that both of Naruto's parents were excellent sensors. She was initially surprised when Naruto didn't exhibit any sensing talent, but it seems that the Kyuubi chakra was suppressing a lot of Naruto's abilities, as he also seemed to have a good control over his vast chakra reserves, without the Kyuubi messing with his chakra control. Shizune was shocked at this piece of information, as usually sensing talent is recognized early in a shinobi in the academy itself. But she attributed this to either the academy instructors neglecting to check if Naruto had any sensing talent or even training him if he had any such talent. It was also possible that, now that Naruto's chakra didn't have to fight to keep the Kyuubi chakra in control, it was slowly exhibiting all its intrinsic characters. It was also flowing smoothly through Naruto's chakra coils, leading to an increase in Naruto's natural chakra control. Shaking herself out of her musings, Shizune agreed to help Naruto with sharpening his sensory skills, as it was a very useful skill to have. She told him to meet her in the training ground behind their house in the Senju compound after dinner. After finishing dinner and washing the dishes, Shizune and Naruto sat down in full-size postures in the Senju compound training ground. "Close your eyes, Naruto, and focus on my chakra signature that you can sense. Then concentrate on it, and tell me all the details you can observe from it," Shizune suggested to Naruto to get him started on the process of sharpening his chakra sensing skill. Naruto quickly closed his eyes and sunk into a meditative trance. He could clearly sense a chakra signature from where he knew that Shizune was sitting down. He focused his entire concentration on her chakra signature, and it paid results as he could slowly see that the chakra was near 3/4 of his own reserves and seemed to be both fluid as well as crackling at the same time. Naruto slowly opened his eyes and said, "Nachan, I can feel that your chakra reserves are nearly 3/4 of my own, and your chakra feels both fluid and crackling at the same time." Shizune beamed in pride and said, "Very good, Naruto-kun. You were able to sense my chakra reserves as well as the nature of my chakra. My elemental affinity is water and lightning. That is the reason my chakra felt like it was a fluid as well as crackling at the same time." Naruto nodded his head in agreement, as he had studied about elemental affinities in one of the books Shizune had made him read. Naruto was very excited to learn elemental ninjutsu, but he knew that he first had to make sure that all his basics were rock solid. Naruto looked to Shizune and asked, "What should I do now, Nachan?" She just smiled and said, "Now, all that is left is trying to improve the range of your sensory ability and trying to sense the chakra levels and affinities of multiple people at once. It will be very confusing and headache-inducing at first, but practice is the only way to improve this skill. From tomorrow onwards, combine this training with your mediation training. That way you can kill two birds with one stone. Now, it is time for you to go to bed. It took you nearly 15 minutes to get into a meditative trance and sense my chakra and its intricacies. I want you to work on the speed with your sensory ability, to the point that you are always subconsciously sensing everything around you, even while you are in relaxed mode. It will save your life someday, mark my words." Naruto returned to his room in Tsunade Bachan's house and immediately dispelled his two clones. Of them, one was practicing his calligraphy and his speed of writing kanji, while another was reading advanced mathematics and advanced physics, which was essential for high-level fuinjutsu. It took him about 10 minutes to fully absorb and analyze all their memories. Satisfied with his progress, Naruto created one shadow clone and assigned him to work on trying to increase the range of his sensing ability. Naruto brushed his teeth and immediately went to bed, as he didn't want to be tired when he met Enko-sensei for training in the morning. The rest of the week progressed in a similar fashion. Naruto had finally managed to perform a sealless kawarimi with perfection. Now, he was working on trying to substitute with smaller and smaller objects, and he had dedicated 10 shadow clones to working on that daily. He had mastered tree walking and also his variant of it. He had mastered both the versions of the leaf spinning exercise Tsunade Bachan had told him to master. His leg weights had been increased to 80 kilograms per leg. He had finally hit a growth spurt due to his now improved diet and rigorous physical training, and had grown nearly 2 inches in the 15 days since he had started training. Enko-sensei had been impressed by his dedication and progress and had taught him a number of taijutsu moves belonging to the snake-style taijutsu. His range with his sensing talent had increased to 100 meters from the initial 10 meters, but he was still not able to differentiate between different chakra signatures in a crowd, and that usually gave him a headache. But he had managed to identify chakra signatures of people he was familiar with, even if they were in a crowd. His shuriken jutsu training with moving targets had also improved. Enko-sensei had him using the giant spiders in the Forest of Death for target practice. She also had him fight the giant spiders using only taijutsu. Due to their tough exoskeleton, it was difficult to kill them with only taijutsu, but he had improved with every session of fighting against them, and the power of his blows had increased drastically, even more than his admittedly high natural power. Enko also had Naruto spar against her occasionally without his weights, as she wanted him to be familiar with fighting at his full speed, as the first time Naruto had removed his weights and tried to move at his full speed, he had crashed into a tree. So, Naruto took of his weights for 2 hours every alternative day in order to get used to his true speed. Overall, Shizune was pleased with his progress and agreed to teach him the Shunshin Jutsu, as well as another Jutsu which she called the Kage Shuriken Jutsu. Chapter 6. Training for the Genin Exam Part 4. Senju Compound Training Ground, 15 days after start of training. Naruto stood at attention, visibly vibrating in excitement, as Shizune was going to teach him 2 new jutsu. This was what he was waiting for. A new jutsu was better than even ramen, in his opinion. Speaking of ramen, Naruto decided to sneak away to Ichiraku for a few bowls of ramen, as he had not had even a single bowl of ramen, the food of the gods, in his opinion, in nearly 15 days, which was blasphemy. Naruto was disturbed from his dreams about swimming in a pool of ramen when he heard Shizune clearing her throat to catch his attention. As Naruto concentrated his attention on her, Shizune performed the hand signs for Kage Shuriken Jutsu and launched a kunai at a training post, and watched as it multiplied into 20 kunai. Awesome, Nachan. I can now make 1 kunai multiply into hundreds of kunai, Naruto screamed in excitement. Shizune quickly brought him down from his excitement, saying, "Don't get too overexcited, Naruto. Any competent shinobi can block it using an earth wall, a water wall, by going underground, by blowing all of them away with a gust of wind, etc." Naruto quickly came down to earth from his high. He pouted and said, "Nachan, couldn't you have let me have my happy thoughts for at least a few minutes?" Shizune chuckled and said, "Don't worry, Naruto. It is my job to make sure that you don't get a big head. Also, this jutsu is very useful against bandits and lower-ranked samurai. The number of kunai multiplied depends on the amount of chakra used and the control you have on your chakra. This is similar to your Kage Bunshin jutsu, so I don't expect you to take long to master this. I want you to master it to the point of needing only a single hand seal. It originally requires 5 hand seals." Seeing Naruto nod his head in agreement, Shizune said, "Now follow my hands as I make the hand seals required and replicate them using chakra to use the jutsu." Naruto observed her hands as she slowly went through the hand seals, and he replicated them perfectly as he launched a kunai at the training post and softly intoned Kage Shuriken Jutsu. Naruto's jutsu was a success as his kunai multiplied into 5, but he was disheartened as he couldn't match his Nachan. Seeing his disheartened expression, Shizune just chuckled and said, "Naruto, you didn't honestly expect to match me on the first try, did you? I can make a kunai multiply into 50 at best. But the Sandaime Hokage could multiply a single kunai into hundreds of them with a single hand seal, according to what I heard from Tsunade-sama. I want you to reach that level of proficiency with this jutsu," Shizune said to Naruto. "It will take you a lot of practice and a long time to reach that level of proficiency with this jutsu, but I expect you practice till you reach that level of proficiency. Is that clear?" Naruto rapidly nodded his head and said, "Yes, Nachan. I will practice till I reach the Sandaime's level. Now can you teach me the Shunshin Jutsu? Please, please, please." Seeing Naruto's pouting face, Shizune chuckled and said, "If you can multiply your kunai into 20 with a single hand seal, I will teach you the Shunshin Jutsu. I don't want to teach you the Shunshin Jutsu at present, as I don't want to overburden you. You already have more than enough things to train in, for the moment. You perform the Kage Shuriken Jutsu to my satisfaction, and I will happily teach you the Shunshin Jutsu." Seeing as Shizune would not budge from her decision despite his incessant pleading, Naruto agreed to her condition, as despite his pleading Naruto knew that Shizune had a point. He was already training for nearly 18 hours a day on various things. This additional training for the Shunshin Jutsu would have just caused him to burn out. Training Ground 43, after a few hours. Naruto had just finished his exercise routine after increasing his leg weights to 90 kilograms on each leg. Naruto had also increased the number of repetitions of each exercise. Naruto had taken inspiration for his exercise routine from Guy and Lee. Naruto wanted to match them in taijutsu one day. But Naruto also added exercises for flexibility to his routine, as he didn't want a bulky body. He wanted a slim and streamlined body built for both intense speed and monstrous strength. Naruto finished his exercises and saw 2 of his shadow clones working on water walking, as that was the next chakra control exercise assigned to him. Shizune was surprised when she saw that Naruto had already mastered the tree walking exercise with both hands and legs, but she was proud of him for taking the initiative in his training and assigned him the water walking exercise, first on still water, and then on hot water, and then on flowing water. Currently, Naruto's clones were practicing the water-walking exercise on a lake adjacent to the training ground 44. Another two of his clones were working on reducing the hand seals required for the Kage Shuriken Jutsu by sensing the way chakra was molded in his chakra pathways by each hand seal while using the jutsu, and then attempting to mold his chakra like that without the assistance of a hand seal. His sensory ability came in handy in this situation, and this also helped in improving his sensory ability, as if he mastered this ability to sense how the chakra is being molded by a person. He could learn the nature of the jutsu being used by his opponent even before he uses it on him. He could also use this ability as a Sharingan, without the necessity of needing to see all the hand seals required to copy it. Naruto could copy any jutsu he sees by memorizing the flow of chakra in his opponent during the usage of the jutsu. Naruto was determined to develop his chakra sensing ability to that level, that it basically became an artificial Sharingan. Naruto decided to work on this project in secret, as Shizune-chan had told him that a good shinobi never revealed all his secrets to anyone. Naruto created a clone to work on his sensing, and continued on his way to the Forest of Death to work on his taijutsu skills with Anko-sensei. As soon as he entered the clearing where they usually sparred, Naruto immediately inclined his head slightly to the left and caught a kunai thrown at him in his left hand and threw it in the same direction it came from. He was not surprised to see that it was Anko who had attacked him, as this was her method of making sure that Naruto was always on guard. And Naruto had also learned to take this in stride. Anko clapped her hands slowly and said, "Very good, Gaki. You dodged the kunai with minimal movement and attacked in the same movement. You have improved beyond my expectations. But now, it is time to make sure that you don't get a big head. So, time for Anko-chan to thrash you. Get ready, Naruto." Saying this, Anko launched herself at Naruto at high chunin speed. Naruto could follow her with his eyes, as he had become accustomed to high-speed combat. But he knew that he could not hope to dodge her blow as his body was simply not fast enough, especially with the new level he had upgraded his weights to that very morning. So instead of trying to block or dodge the incoming blow, Naruto simply substituted himself with a log and saw it get cracked from Anko's blow. Naruto immediately launched himself at her with a rising double kick, which she dodged by swaying to the side and kicking Naruto in the stomach with a side kick, and Naruto allowed his body to roll with the blow to reduce the impact. Naruto then surprised Anko by using the surface sticking exercise to latch onto the leg she had lashed at him and using precise strikes with a kunai to disable both her Achilles tendons, and Naruto immediately substituted himself with another log when she launched a couple of snakes at him from her sleeves after getting over her surprise. The fight progressed better for Naruto from there, as he had limited Anko's movement by disabling her leg movement, but she still managed to beat Naruto with a surprise application of a paralytic poison when she lured Naruto into coming into her range, when she feigned an opening in her stance and nicked him with a poisoned kunai she kept in her sleeve. Shizune found Naruto and Anko like that. When she came to give Naruto his breakfast, Naruto, still suffering from lingering effects of the poison, which his healing factor had mostly taken care of, and Anko with both her Achilles tendons cut. "What the hell happened here?" Shizune demanded to know. Anko just laughed and said with amusement in her voice, "Gaki surprised me and managed to sever the tendons in my ankles. He would have won the fight if I hadn't tricked him and disabled him using a paralyzing poison of medium concentration, as low-level poisons don't have any effect on him due to his healing factor. I don't know whether I should be proud of him for managing to surprise me and land a blow on me, or be pisses at myself for being tricked by a kid who is not even a genin yet." Shizune shook her head in bemusement and sighed. "So, Naruto finally managed to land a hit on you. Good for him. It only took him 10 days. And I think it is time that I train him in Jinjutsu detection and dispelling. Do you mind starting him on poison resistance, Anko?" Anko shook her head and said, "No problem for me. I think it is a good idea to start him on poison resistance, though I think he is already immune to all the low-level ones due to his healing factor. But he will need to be immune to poisons if he fights shinobi belonging to villages like Suna, Kusa, or Aim. They are famous for their use of resistance is also a very good idea, as I don't think he knows even how to dispel the most basic of Jinjutsu. But as he is censor, Jinjutsu detection will be easy for him, and dispelling them will also be easier for him, as he has massive chakra reserves. I don't think low-level Jinjutsu will even have an effect on him, as it will be like trying to influence an ocean with a drop of water. Due to his massive chakra, he will be susceptible to high-level Jinjutsu. So I will train him to first detect foreign chakra, which should be easy as it is already part of his chakra sensing training. Then I will work with him on various methods of dispelling Jinjutsu. Meanwhile, you can work with him on his poison resistance, as you are much better at that than me, and can heal him in case of an adverse reaction. Shizune nodded and said, "That's settled then. I will take him with me after breakfast and start working on low-level poison resistance and detection, and you can work with a few of his shadow clones on Jinjutsu detection." With Anko's agreement, Shizune took Naruto with her to her office in the hospital, and Naruto created 3 shadow clones to work with Anko on Jinjutsu detection, while another 2 worked on water walking, and a couple of shadow clones worked on the Kanai Kage Bunshin Jutsu. Naruto decided not to dedicate any shadow clones to work on chakra sensing, as training for Jinjutsu detection could also double as training for his chakra sensing. Naruto followed Shizune to her office and sat on a couch she indicated to him, and waited as she went about mixing some herbs and chemicals she had in her office and then grinding them in a pestle. After that, she extracted the pure poison from the pestle, using pure water manipulation and then boiling it in a hollow water bubble. Using pure water and fire, Shizune completed her preparation of the poison. She mulled over the fact that not many knew poison was her speciality. She had surpassed the queen of elixirs, Tsunade-sama herself, in that field. She was hoping to pass down her knowledge to Naruto by making him her official apprentice after he made Jounin. She knew that Naruto would be a frontline fighter with his massive chakra reserves, so even she had upped her training in order to be able to teach Naruto better. She was a solid Jounin-level kunoichi, but had become a little rusty from having not seen combat in a long time, while she was roaming around the elemental nations with Tsunade-sama. She had recently upped her daily training after she had decided to teach Naruto, and she was back to the level she was originally at, solid Jounin level. By her estimate, she was about the level of Kurenai. Shizune had rediscovered her thrill for combat, as she had originally wanted to be a combat medic and not a pure medic. Shizune decided to use this opportunity to get herself to Kage level, as well as bring Naruto to that level, by making him her apprentice and teaching him properly. Unlike that hypocritic pervert Kakashi, Shizune knew that she would not face any difficulty in making Naruto her apprentice, as Tsunade-sama had already made Sakura her apprentice, and taking Naruto also as her apprentice would not be without its problems, as most of the civilian council still didn't like Naruto, despite him no longer having the QB within him. So, Shizune was sure she could take on Naruto as her apprentice by persuading Tsunade-sama, as she could teach Naruto everything that Tsunade-sama wanted to teach him. Shizune was also working on bringing up her chakra reserves, which were solid high Jounin level up to Kage level, because she knew that a shinobi could become Kage level only by constantly fighting against another Kage level opponent. So Shizune also had taken to sparring with Tsunade-sama daily. Bringing herself out of her musings, Shizune filled the poison in a syringe and stuck it in Naruto's arm, without any prior warning, as she knew that Naruto was deathly afraid of needles and would make a fuss if she told him in advance. Naruto was definitely not expecting his Nachan to stick an injection syringe into his arm and inject something into his body. Naruto suddenly felt as if his body was out of his control, as he was able to move any of his limbs. As Naruto sat there, paralyzed and unable to move, Shizune sat at her desk and said in a casual tone that Naruto-kun was a paralytic poison of about average strength. It will leave you paralyzed for 3 hours, but with your healing factor, I guess it will take your body about an hour to be back under your control. In the meanwhile, I will be continuously casting Jinjutsu on you, and you have to detect them first, and then I will teach you how to dispel them. This way, you can work on both your poison resistance, as well as your Jinjutsu resistance. We will do this every day from now on. I want you to create a sealless shadow clone. It will follow my clone as it teaches you basic medical jutsu, like how to prevent dehydration, how to regulate your body temperature, etc. This continuous exposure to poisons will also lead to massive improvement in your healing factor. I want you to be able to resist any kind of poisons. Once I am confident in your resistance to at least mid-level poisons and your chakra control has reached a satisfactory level, I will teach you how to extract poison from a body and how to prepare poisons as well as their antidotes. It was then that Naruto discovered that though his body was paralyzed, he could feel his chakra and so molded his chakra sealsly and created a shadow clone and sent it with Shizunichin's shadow clone to learn basic medical jutsu. While his clone was learning basic medical jutsu, Naruto spent an hour trying to sense small amounts of Shizunichin's chakra, trying to influence the chakra in his system, and Naruto resisted it as much as he could. But finally Naruto suddenly saw a scene of Konoha lying in ruins, and all his precious people like Tsunade-bachan, Shizune-chan, Ayame-chan, Tsuchiya-chan, Sakura-chan, and so other people lying on the ground with what looked to be fatal injuries, and asking him in rasping voice why he didn't save them. Then Naruto suddenly saw himself being impaled through his chest by Sasuke's Chidori, and felt an intense pain through his body. The scene then shifted to show Naruto himself being bitten on the neck by Orochimaru and the excruciating pain that accompanied it before he blacked out. The scenes kept repeating and Naruto couldn't respond in any way, as he felt his breaths coming quicker and quicker, and he felt himself sweating like crazy. Suddenly, Naruto could no longer bear this psychological torture and blacked out. Shizune was very pleased with Naruto's quick progress with detecting foreign chakra. It probably helped that she had him become very familiar with his chakra through meditation, so now he could detect foreign chakra easily. Naruto also seemed to be revisiting the lower-level Jinjutsu fairly successfully, but the moment she layered an illusion, she saw him succumb to the Jinjutsu, Hell Viewing Technique. Shizune was not much worried about this, as it was still just a D-rank Jinjutsu. But she definitely started to worry when Naruto suddenly became catatonic and fainted after a while. Instead of panicking like a rookie shinobi, Shizune administered Naruto the antidote to the paralytic poison she had given him. When Naruto still didn't wake up, even after a jolt to his chakra system, Shizune immediately created a shadow clone to keep watch over him, and she shunshined to the Hokage's office to fetch Tsunade-sama. Hokage's office. Tsunade set down her pen and leaned back into her chair and let out a sigh of relief as her paperwork for the afternoon was completed. She never thought that there would come a day when she would be reduced to a paper pusher or the day her hand would start cramping from doing paperwork. She blamed that blonde menace she considered her son/brother for this state of hers. He was the one who had reignited that dying spark of fire in her and made her take up the Hokage's hat. But as she watched children play happily without a care in the streets, Tsunade knew that however much she might protest, she was happy that Naruto had managed to convince her to become the Hokage. Preserving that playful smile and childhood of the children was the reason that her grandfather and granduncle had established Konoha. Tsunade was proud to again play a role in keeping Konoha safe. Tsunade would never admit it to anyone, but these past few months had been the most satisfying and happy days she had experienced in nearly 2 decades. Tsunade pulled herself back from her memories and reached into a secret compartment beneath her desk, where she hid her secret stash of sake from Shizune, as Shizune prevented her from drinking when she was in office. One thing she was glad for was that, ever since Shizune had restarted her own training and also training Naruto, she had stopped working as her secretary, so she could drink her sake whenever she wanted. It was usually Sakura who worked as her secretary. As Tsunade lifted a saucer of sake to her lips and took a sip, she suddenly saw Shizune barge into her office. Tsunade spitted out the sake in her mouth, in shock, and tried to defend herself, saying, "Shizune, I was not drinking. I swear." But Shizune just lifted an eyebrow in question when she saw the saucer and bottle of sake on Tsunade's desk, but didn't comment on it. Ignoring her Shursho's drinking habits for now, Shizune said in an urgent tone, "Tsunade-sama, please hurry to my office. Naruto is not well." Tsunade immediately abandoned her feeble attempts to defend herself and immediately adopted a serious expression and asked in a serious voice, "What happened, Shizune? You are more than capable of healing any injuries he may have suffered." "I was training him in Jinjutsu detection and dispelling, while simultaneously working on his poison resistance. He was easily resisting the low-level Jinjutsu, so I used layered low-level illusions and he was caught in the hell-viewing Jinjutsu. I gave him the antidote for the paralytic poison I gave him, but he would still not wake up and instead seems to have gone into a catatonic state, similar to that of Sasuke Uchiha, when Itachi used his Sharingan Jinjutsu on him. Mental healing is not my forte, so I came to get you, Shizune replied. Well, let's get going. There's no time to waste. I will summon Inoichi to the hospital to check on Naruto, said Tsunade, and leapt out of her window and rushed away to the hospital. Shizune followed her and Anbu went to the TI to summon Inoichi to the hospital according to the Hokage's orders. Shizune's office, hospital wing. On reaching Shizune's office, Tsunade barged inside and saw Naruto in exactly the same position as Shizune had described. He was lying comatose with Shizune's shadow clone keeping watch over his prone form. Tsunade immediately walked over to where Naruto's prone form was lying on a couch and activated the Mystic Palm Jutsu and placed her palms, one on his forehead and another on his heart, and checked the readings and confirmed Shizune's diagnosis. There was nothing physically wrong with his body, but mentally he seemed to be stuck in a loop like in Victims of Itachi's Tsukuyomi. Seeing as the symptoms were similar to when she treated the Uchiha brat after he confronted his brother, she decided to go with a similar treatment. Reaching a decision, she concentrated pure Yin chakra into her palms, and as it formed an almost emerald green ethereal flame in her palms, she placed them on Naruto's forehead and softly intoned. Yin release, psychic revival. This was a jutsu she had learnt in the Senju clan library, created by her grandfather the Shodame Hokage, to counter the effects of Mangekyo Sharingan Jinjutsu used by Madara and his brother Izuna. It used a surgery of pure Yin chakra to flush out the foreign chakra from the mindscape of the victim and kickstart the healing of the mindscape. Tsunade was satisfied to see that Naruto had broken out of his catatonic state, but had become unconscious from all the strain on his mind. Just as Tsunade had managed to heal Naruto, she sensed that the Yamanaka clan had arrived. Tsunade indicated to Shizune to let him in. As soon as Inoichi entered the room, he quickly took in Naruto's unconscious form on the couch and the concerned expressions on the faces of the Hokage and Shizune. He immediately stood at attention and asked, "Hokage-sama, you sent for me. What can I do for you?" Shizune narrated the events that led to Naruto's condition to Inoichi. And then Tsunade asked Inoichi, "I would like you to take a look at Naruto. A simple C-rank Jinjutsu should not have put him in such a condition." Inoichi listened to the events with rapt attention, and after hearing everything he got a glint in his eyes and said, "Hokage-sama, I may know what caused this, but I would like to inspect his memories once before informing you about my hypothesis." With the Hokage's approval, Inoichi immediately used his clan jutsu to enter Naruto's mindscape and inspected his memories of the past hour. Satisfied about the correctness of his hypothesis, Inoichi exited Naruto's mind. Taking a moment to get his thoughts in order, Inoichi collected himself and addressed the Hokage. "Hokage-sama, my theory was correct. Naruto was subconsciously suppressing the memories of his fight with Sasuke and his death at Orochimaru's hands. The Jinjutsu that Shizune-sen used brings up makes the target see his worst fears and most feared memories. This resulted in Naruto's suppressed memories coming up automatically, and his mind was stuck in a loop trying to get to terms with them." "So what is your diagnosis, Inoichi? Will Naruto be fine?" Tsunade asked after hearing the reason for Naruto's condition. Normally, being stuck like that in a memory loop of your worst fears and memories would result in psychological trauma. But in this case, I think that with regular counseling Naruto will finally come to terms with his death and Sasuke's betrayal, as I have not yet managed to make him get over his unhealthy habit of forgiving everyone, even at the cost of his own health. I think Naruto will finally accept that Sasuke was never a true friend to him, and he will be ready to do what must be done if he faces Sasuke again. I blame most of his unhealthy habit of letting everyone walk all over him, like Sakura does on the Sandame. So, I can say that with regular counsel for the next 2 months, I think Naruto will be perfectly fine and will be perfectly fine even psychologically. Shizune sighed in relief when she heard in Inoichi-san's diagnosis that Naruto would be fine, as she had been blaming herself for his condition, however accidental it might be. With his work done, Inoichi took his leave and left. After Inoichi's departure, Tsunade also left for her office, and Shizune took Naruto back to Tsunade's house and set him down on his bed in his room and created a shadow clone to watch over him. A few hours later, as Naruto slowly came to consciousness, he immediately took stock of his surroundings as he saw that he was not in Shizune's office, which was the last place he remembered himself being. But when he recognized his surroundings, he relaxed his body as he was in his room. Then Naruto suddenly started sobbing as the events leading to his unconsciousness suddenly asserted themselves in his mind. Naruto felt himself being hugged gently by soft hands and saw that it was Shizune-chan. Patiently consoling him, she asked, "What happened, Naruto? Why are you crying?" It took Naruto a few minutes to control himself and reply, "I saw everyone I love lying dead and Konoha in ruins, Ne-chan. You, Tsunade-bachan, I am Ne-chan, Tuchi Gigi everyone, Ne-chan." And Naruto quickly succumbed to sobs again. He controlled himself and said, "I remembered the fight with Sasuke, Ne-chan. I remember him trying to kill me." Naruto could no longer delude himself. Watching the same memory hundreds of times continuously has the effect of opening your eyes to the truth, however stubborn you might be. Naruto took a few moments to collect himself and continued, "I remember Orochimaru biting on my neck. I remember feeling intense pain unlike anything I have ever felt. It was like liquid fire was flowing through my body. I can remember being on the edge of unconsciousness and felt myself beginning to feel quite cold, and then I remember waking up in the hospital. What truly happened to me, Shizune-chan? I need to know the truth, please, Ne-chan." Naruto pleaded with her, with tears in his eyes. Shizune contemplated Naruto's request for a few seconds, but ultimately decided to inform him of the whole truth, as she believed that Naruto would not completely recover till he came to terms with what happened to him. "You died at the hands of Sasuke and Orochimaru. Even before piercing you with multiple Chidori, Sasuke seems to have broken your neck, and the only reason you survived was the Kyuubi. Then Orochimaru's curse seal and the lung injury from Sasuke's Chidori finally killed you again, and only the remaining Kyuubi chakra and nature chakra running through your system and your Uzumaki vitality kept you alive long enough for Tsunade-sama and myself to heal you. We also lost you twice on the operation table and had to revive you using light lightning shocks to your heart." Shizune silently observed as Naruto seemed to become sadder and sadder as she recounted his condition to him. But she just hugged him and said, "I know this is hard to accept, Naruto, but it is the truth. You will only recover completely after you come to terms with it. But don't worry, you have me, Anko and Tsunade-sama to support you through every step of the way." After Naruto calmed down a bit, Shizune addressed him, saying, "Naruto, for the rest of the day, I want you to work on your chakra sensing skills and send shadow clones to practice your chakra control. I don't want you to exert yourself physically, as you need to rest for at least today." Naruto was in no mood to argue and so just acquiesced to her instructions and did as he was told. The rest of the day, Naruto spent practicing his chakra sensing, while his clones were trying to make his own storage seals and explosive seals, while some other clones worked on his chakra control. It was quite tedious, but the meditation for the chakra sensing practice allowed Naruto to take his mind off the events of the day. The rest of the day passed away with Naruto trying to calm his mind from the revelations of the day. At dinner, Tsunade informed Naruto that he had mandatory psychiatric sessions with Inoichi once every 3 days for the next month. After dinner, Naruto spent another hour working on his Fuinjutsu before going to sleep.